I got to ask you this. Do they airbrush those girls? And you know what airbrush? Well, not
Yes,
everybody
I know
knows
what airbrush is,
means.
sir.
You, of course, know what it is. But
In the
photographs,
magazine?
so yeah, there's always...
Very, very little. In some instances, airbrushing, not at all. In some instances, we do work in the color separations to, make the color come out better, make the girls more attractive. But the general impression that the pictures are highly retouched
Yes.
is not true. Compared to the women's magazines, as a matter of fact, which do a lot of retouching of their photographs, we do very, very little.
If
Very
anyone
much
who
like
doesn't know
nature,
what airbrushing
nature
is,
intended them.
the way nature one. Well, airbrushing is, in case everybody doesn't know, is a process that's used to remove the blemishes in a photograph. They don't use the airbrush on the girls. They use it on the actual photograph itself or on the negative. Isn't that right? Don't I clear things up nicely?
Yes, I'm still working out the tooth fairy thing. I'm still upset about that.
You're worried about that. That hit you deeply,
It
didn't
really did.
Let me introduce our next guest, because tonight we could all get talking about the same subject. He is a well-known psychotherapist, I believe is the correct way to refer to Dr. May. He's written a number of distinguished books. Is everyone offended by what I'm saying? All right. He's written a number of books on the agonies of modern man, and his most recent one has been stolen from my desk, as a matter of fact. It resembles a box of facial tissues, but this is merely a bit of an ingenious piece of subliminal advertising, because when you get it home and start removing the tissues, you find Dr. May's writing on them. And here he is now. Please welcome Dr. Rollo May. What is this? Sorry about that bit of indignity. I thought I had your book there, and someone obviously swiped it. It's called Love and Will, in case you have forgotten. And
They probably wanted it, so that's a good idea.
someone wanted it. Yeah, it's nice to know that. Love and Will sounds like the manifesto of the Hitler Youth Movement or something. It's a really good... I seem to have Hitler on the mind tonight.
Yes.
Yes. Could you explain the title? That's the dreariest question you can be asked when you've written a book, but...
Well, I don't want
It's
it
a place to
associated with the Hitler Youth Movement at all.
No, I'll try
and,
to...
it's the first time I've heard that, but...
Liebe und
it's,
something.
I believe that love and will are very much connected. I did a lot of work on love for quite a long time, and then I found myself with my patients being very interested in the problem of will, and then it occurred to me that two really go together. The trouble with love in our day is that, as it comes out in many, say partly the hippies and other ways, is that they have spontaneity, but they don't have fidelity. I mean, they don't have commitment, responsibility. And these are all matters of will. And this is where I think will, which is commitment, is putting yourself on the line. This is necessary if your love is going to have any staying quality. So I decided in the long run they really belong together.
You said earlier that this was your conclusions are based on your practice. And are you ever open to the criticism that the conclusions that you make about all of society are based on your experiences with people who are in some sense ill,
Well,
and therefore may be invalid?
no, that's not made very often anymore. I think people are...
Only people who mention Hitler twice in an evening will say that.
No, you see, I think that what is shown by my patients is the same thing that's shown in the artists. They speak from the unconscious levels of their being, which means they actually predict what's going to happen in the next, 10, 20 years. See, the artists do that. They speak out of the unconscious. The neurotic can't help but speak out of the unconscious. And in this sense, the artists and the neurotic are predictors of what's going to happen in the future. And this is a thesis I make pretty strongly in this book. And as far as I know, it's never been refuted. I expect tomorrow somebody will refute it, but
I was going to
it's never
refute it
been.
now, but I just don't have time. Do you find that do you think, this is a subject that came up on the show once before, does the artist have to be neurotic or vice versa?
No, but they're very close to each other. And so long as he can create art, he doesn't go neurotic. But the neurotic may be thought of as the artiste manqué, the artist who can't create any art. so that there's a very close relationship between the artist and the neurotic.
But maybe a lot of people who would like to be artists use their neurosis as an excuse for
Well,
not being
that's-
able to
that's
be,
a great problem,
to be
yeah.
artists. What difficulties do you see in Mr. Hefner's image of
Yeah.
love, for example?
Well, with all due respect to Mr. Hefner,
You know you're going to get it when they start like that.
Yes. You want to sit on opposite sides?
see, I believe that Playboy takes the fig leaf off the genitals and puts it over the face. That the
Wait a minute. Takes the fig leaf off the genitals
Yeah.
and puts it over the face. Do you remember
Yeah.
doing that, Mr. Hefner?
Not recently, no.
That bears
Well,
some explanation.
yeah, and the problem in the love image that Playboy stands for and presents is that the faces of these lovely girls have no expression. They are withdrawn, detached, and this goes along with the feeling in Playboy that the aim is to play it cool, to not to commit yourself. Don't get caught, which I see you have
Managed to do lately.
lived up to. But in any case, the idea is love without commitment, love without responsibility. Now, it seems to me this is a faulty view of love.
Are you aware that Mr. Hefner is the gentleman to your right?
Yes, I am.
Well aware of that. I get some equal time.
Do you want to defend your view of love, or would you just like to let it go?
No, I think it'd be a short show if I just let it go, I guess. I think. Well, I think that if you pick bits and parts of the magazine, that you can come to a lot of conclusions, and you have to kind of look at it overall. But I think in terms of the pictures and the Playmate of the Month, that the thing that sets it apart from cheesecake pictures, pin-up pictures of the past, is the extent to which we have humanized the picture. In the past, the glamour girls were sex stars. The Betty Grables, the Rita Hayworths, quite impersonal and removed from the rest of society. The whole Playmate concept really is that beauty is everywhere, that she can be the girl next door, secretary, airline stewardess, college co-ed.
Have you looked at the girl next door lately?
It depends on the neighborhood you live in. In
Yes.
some neighborhoods, and we tell a story about her, and in admittedly a very superficial way because there are just so many pages, but do try to become involved in telling something about her as a human being. So I think that the general criticism that Playboy, I do agree that society, and that our total Judeo-Christian heritage has established women as a sexual object. But I think that, and therefore, since Playboy exists within society, I think it is guilty of being, reflects some portion of that and some portion of our Puritanism that's still with us. But I think the thing that sets it apart is an attempt to, particularly in the pinups, which is mentioned here, to humanize the sexual being and make her more of a person.
Well, I don't see it that way at all. I
that
think
feeling.
that the
It's hard to know who the applause is for, so
Yeah,
don't be
yeah.
distracted by it. Just keep moving.
yeah. Well, that
You still see a danger. Is
yes,
that it?
I do. I see very much the danger. I think Mr. Hefner has certainly caught on to something important with Playboy, but women tend to be not personalized, but made into types. I think this is true of the bunnies also. Now, I think what we have to find in our society, if we're going to have any love that's really satisfying and worthwhile, is women and men who are persons, who are human, who are direct, and who don't get their attraction by the fact that the clothes they wear or the a kind of vacuum of expression. See, I think it's very
Could I
important.
respond
that,
briefly to that, because I didn't really say anything about what was really the heart, the second part of his point, and
Yeah.
the heart of it. We're not so far apart in certain areas. The magazine has been criticized for a lot of things that I don't think it really represents, and that's the reason some time ago I got involved in the editorial series, the Playboy Philosophy. Though I still find that the criticism remains the same, and we fight the same battles over and over. But I agree that the best kind of sex and the best kind of love includes involvement emotional involvement and openness. I'm much more opposed to the playing it cool kind of concept than one might assume. But I also think that there's a period, or should be a period, of discovery, self-discovery, immediately after the teens, when you're getting out of school, and before you finally find yourself as a human being, settle down, get married, make that more lasting commitment, in which you should attempt to find yourself. And Playboy is largely devoted to those years. I think there's a time of exploration and, play that is quite important, and as a matter of fact, leads then to a greater opportunity for something more lasting when you finally do settle down.
I gather, too, from your book that one of your fears is that you talk about the fact that in the Victorian age you were guilty if you had sex, and in our age you're guilty if you
If
don't.
you don't have, yeah.
And that there's a sort of reverse Puritanism now that you talk about, where a person feels absolutely pressed upon.
Thou shalt turns into thou must.
Yes, that if there's a sexual revolution and you're not in on it, then there's really something wrong with you. And
See, the Victorian person sought to have love without sex, and now the ideal is sex without love. Now that, I think, that's exactly what my book's about.
yeah. And here's a word from those little blue guys who eats what? How's that, dearie? Oh, yes. Charming gentleman waving at me there. Someone's going to have to do the show tomorrow night from my picking that up. Here's a word from those little blue guys who eat stains. You know how much fun they are. Professional stain eaters who have rarely met a stain.